Why Miami trading Tyreek Hill soon is inevitable. So, the 2025 Miami Dolphins season isn't off to a good start, with a 0-3 record. There are rumblings that Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier may lose their jobs at any moment. Tua Tagovailoa is getting snippy with the media and arguing with Cam Newton through the press. It's getting ugly in South Florida right now. And soon, the NFL trade deadline will be here, and I don't need a crystal ball to realize Miami will be sellers and not buyers at the deadline. Yes, ESPN wrote an article on Wednesday discussing Jalen Wright and Jaelan Phillips as attractive pieces that other teams will want, and Miami will likely receive calls on. But let's keep it real here. The biggest trade chip with the most value is still Tyreek Hill. And Miami wants him gone, and Hill wants out of Miami. The Dolphins would have gotten rid of him last offseason if his contract weren't so large. And they will get rid of him next offseason when the cap hit is far less. However, in season right now, Miami can make that move since the season is lost and cap issues are secondary. It's just about getting to Week 18 and shifting the focus to 2026. Now, I will say this, Hill has been good this year. Since Week 1 on the field, he has played very well and looks like he hasn't lost a step at all. And it's been a few weeks since Hill hasn't gotten in trouble off the field. Well, minus that lawsuit that was filed against him. But hey, a couple of quiet weeks with no new Hill drama is a win. But Tyreek Hill is the poster boy of all the Miami Dolphins' problems. His words, antics, off-the-field activities, social media behavior, and legal situations have become exhausting. It never ends with Tyreek. Tyreek Hill is no stranger to making headlines. Below is a list of some of the headlines Hill has made off the field. Tyreek Hill assaulted his pregnant girlfriend in 2014. Tyreek Hill was investigated for battery against his 3-year-old son. Tyreek Hill hit and assaulted a worker at the Haulover Marine Center in 2023. Tyreek Hill has a court date later this year because he broke the leg of plus-sized model Sophie Hall in his backyard while running offensive line drills. Tyreek Hill was in court on 2 different paternity suits in 2024, where he claimed he wasn't the father, spoiler. He was, and he had to begin paying child support. Tyreek Hill was pulled over and put in handcuffs prior to the Week 1 game versus Jacksonville this year because he failed to roll down his window for the police. Tyreek Hill filed divorce papers against his wife, only to claim he didn't mean to and that it was a mistake. Tyreek Hill went on social media a few years ago, saying he was going to retire to be a porn star. Tyreek Hill had to leave a comedy club in Atlanta because his boys were getting into it with another group of men, and a brawl was about to take place. And I should throw in he was the player who quit in the middle of the Week 18 game versus the Jets last season and refused to go back in the game and play. Then afterwards told the media he wasn't sure he wanted to be in Miami. Most recently, he was accused of domestic abuse on 8 occasions by his ex-wife. As the kids say, it's messy with Tyreek. He has to go. Who would be interested? An ESPN article states that Pittsburgh may be interested in Tyreek Hill as of this week. Kansas City has long been rumored to have interest in a reunion with Tyreek Hill. And Pro Football Network has released an article stating that the Buffalo Bills could be a potential suitor for Hill if he is made available. And who knows, there may be other teams out there lying low. But as Mike Florio pointed out, trading Hill won't be easy in that, with this recent lawsuit filed against him. If any video or photos come out as evidence that he is guilty of domestic abuse against his ex-wife, his NFL career will come to a halt. In fact, it may be over, so trading him has a level of risk involved. You have to figure, though, if no pictures or video come out in the next week or 2, then it probably doesn't exist, and the risk is offset somewhat, and teams may feel more comfortable trading for him. Conclusion. Trading Tyreek Hill is a matter of when and not if, I believe. And if, for some reason, they can't move him via trade this season, he will surely be released next February or March. The NFL is built on contradictions. Teams promise loyalty, but chase flexibility. Superstars pledge commitment, but crave bigger stages, bigger contracts, or simply a change of scenery. And fan bases cling to hope even as the storm clouds gather. Few stories encapsulate this tension better than the looming possibility that the Miami Dolphins may trade Tyreek Hill sooner than anyone expects. At first glance, the idea feels absurd. Hill is one of the league's most dynamic weapons, a player who bends defensive schemes before the ball is even snapped. His speed is not just measured by the stopwatch, it's measured by the panic in opposing coordinators' eyes. Since arriving in Miami, he has been the heartbeat of their offense, turbocharging Tua Tagovailoa's efficiency and turning Mike McDaniel's scheme into a fireworks show. And yet, inevitability is creeping in. The whispers are getting louder. The reasons, financial, cultural, and competitive, are aligning. The financial weight. NFL dynasties are as often undone by the salary cap as they are by rival teams. Tyreek Hill's contract, once celebrated as a groundbreaking deal, now looms like an anchor around Miami's neck. The Dolphins, loaded with expensive pieces, Tagovailoa's looming payday, Jalen Ramsey's contract, Bradley Chubb's deal, and others, are running out of room. Every year, difficult decisions get harder to avoid. Hill, nearing the back half of his prime and carrying one of the most expensive receiver deals in the league, becomes the obvious candidate. Trading him would free space, replenish draft picks, and give Miami the flexibility to reshape their roster around Tua. Keeping him might mean sacrificing depth at key positions, offensive line protection, defensive front rotation, or even retaining young emerging stars. In a league where next man up defines success, one star's contract can sometimes strangle an entire franchise. The clock on speed. Speed defines Tyreek Hill, but speed is also the cruelest of gifts. Unlike quarterbacks, who can extend their prime through guile and experience, receivers whose dominance is tied to raw quickness face sharper cliffs. Hill's speed remains devastating, but at 30, the clock ticks louder with each passing season. Miami must ask the uncomfortable question: will Hill be this dominant 2 years from now? Or will they be left holding an expensive contract tied to a player who has lost the very edge that made him unique? Smart franchises trade before the decline, not after. History rewards those who move early. Bill Belichick built his dynasty on that principle. Cut a year too early rather than a year too late. If Miami truly sees themselves as long-term contenders, Hill's trade becomes less a betrayal and more a strategic inevitability. Locker room chemistry. For all his brilliance, Tyreek Hill is not without baggage. His outspoken nature, his confidence, and at times his controversies have always followed him. In Kansas City, the Chiefs managed the balance by surrounding him with Patrick Mahomes' steady leadership and Andy Reid's quiet control. In Miami, the balance feels more fragile. Mike McDaniel is a brilliant strategist, but is lighthearted.